So today in Panama City Beach, there was a special meeting for the special counsel, and in Panama City Beach, and Mayor Mark Money Mover Sheldon. Oh, you're gonna love this. So today, they passed an ordinance. It was the second reading. In order to pass an ordinance, the city has to vote on it twice in two separate meetings. And this one finalized it. Vice Mayor Casto, he wasn't there, but he voted for it last time, and he defended it. But when he defended it, he didn't know what he was talking about. But that's par for the course with him. But today, it was a 3-1 vote. The only person who voted against the ordinance, that in the language, I'll show it to you, it talks about violating your rights and liberties. But it's only for 42 days at the most. And the reason they don't need a warrant to detain you on city premises or to impound your property on city premises, detain you and impound your property. And the reason they don't need a warrant to enter your home is because it would be done if the city manager declares a state of emergency. Okay, so that makes the entire 42 days an exigent circumstance. And they're only doing what the state allows them to do. And it is important to act now. If there's a state of emergency, they've got to act now. And acting now means perhaps if one person decides, the city manager, it could be everybody's in lockdown. All businesses are shut down. All roads are shut down. You can't leave your house. This is an ordinance. And they say, but Bernie, it's been an ordinance since 2021. Well, they expanded it to be emergencies involving technology, emergencies that are not, that include terrorism, all kinds of things, as though they need to do this in order to respond to that. And their arguments were, of course, absurd. On one hand, they argue that they need to act swiftly. Therefore, one person can declare it, the city manager. And at the same time, they say that if the city manager makes a mistake, we can fix it right away because we can convene a meeting right away, which, of course, points to the fact that they know they can call a meeting and call a state of emergency, the council, if they so choose. But anyway, you'll see what it says. I hope you give a damn. A few people did. There were a few people there, about 5 or 6. And again, the only member of the council that defended due process was Mary Coburn. All the rest of them, and I'm telling you, when you hear Phil Chester, Councilman Phil Chester, who terms out in 8 months, he'll have a second term and he'll be done. Not the brightest guy, but he was the most passionate about it today. All right, let me show you some of this stuff. I'll show you my comments. I'll show you the actual ordinance. People are asking about the ordinance. I hope that, and I'll also show you that still, Mayor Sheldon, Mark Sheldon, the mayor, owns Gulf Coast Jam and Sand Jam. He owns the music festivals. And in 2015, the Tourist Development Council they gave him $1.5 million in startup money, and then they've been giving him, his company, $1.5 million every year to market it and put on Gulf Coast Jam and Sand Jam. Now, since Sand Jam hasn't been going on for a while, I've been asking questions. Are you still getting $1.5 million a year? Half of it goes to marketing, half of it goes to operations. And he just laughs it off, which he thinks is funny. And in some ways it is, actually. You see, you say, Bernie, why do you do this? They just kick sand in your face and kick your teeth in and make fun of you, and you don't get anything done. Okay. All right. If you knew what I knew behind the scenes, you would understand that, it's great when they act like this. Remember, the entire council was subpoenaed by the FBI in 2020, in August of 2020. And I was misled because I was told that they were looking very closely into a few of them. I was told that 2 of them on the city council wiped their phones, like with a cloth, like Hillary. Yeah. The city attorney, Cole Son Davis, threatened the FBI agent, Larry Borghini, with a phone call. I'll report you for keeping employees from having counsel when you interview them. I'll report you. The FBI did not keep city employees from having counsel when they talked. But Cole Davis felt comfortable enough to talk to the FBI agent like that. The FBI agent wasn't too happy about it, but nothing happened. I found out later why Cole Davis was so emboldened. And the other city attorney at the time, the lead city attorney, Amy Myers, gave a document that was altered to the FBI. The FBI said, we'd like to get the plat for Popeye Park. She gave them an altered copy of the plat. I asked them about it several times during the meeting, and they never denied it. Now, you think about how much juice they've got to be able to give the FBI false documents and to threaten the FBI. I'll report you for a bunch of nonsense and get away with it. St. Joe Company is very powerful, owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. It all starts to make sense, and the picture will become more clear as time goes on. But it's remarkable. So now you've got one of the members up there who wiped his phone, and the mayor, who investigators are very interested in, very cocky. So I say good. Continue to sit up there and act this way and move money around and have business deals and business ties. I say good because it's a snapshot in time protection. Don't know how long it'll last. Maybe it'll last forever. Or maybe you can run on for a long time, but sooner or later. So I'm going to show you all this stuff, and it's a very big deal. They say it's not a big deal, which immediately should make you know that it is a big deal. I hope that you'll tag your friends, share the show if you think this is important. Also, if you've got people that you think should know this stuff, but they're not on Facebook, you can still get this show and information to them. And here's how. Every Friday, I send an email, one email every Friday that includes the corruption watch of Panama City Beach, Lynn Haven, and Mexico Beach. And here's how you can get it. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. Here you go. So this takes about 20 seconds, and you're going to love it. If you go to bernie.substack.com, all you do is enter your email. It's free. It's free. bernie.substack.com. 20 seconds. And you will be on the list to get the email every Friday night. bernie.substack.com. There's also a way, if you like what I'm doing, for you to support my efforts. All right. bernie.substack.com. Let's take a look at my comments today. What do you want to see first? You want to see let's do the Gulf Coast Jam first. That would make sense. Let's get that out of the way. I only remember about 2 weeks ago or so, something like that, 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I went up there and asked the question, and of course he didn't answer. And he said, and Mark Sheldon asked the question about the $1.5 million a year. Are you still getting $1.5 million a year of tax money to put on the concerts? And he said, I'd love to have that conversation, but didn't have the conversation. So guess what I had to do today? And I didn't want to do it. I almost didn't do it. When they asked for public comments at the very beginning, it was public comments on anything. I wasn't going to get up. I wasn't going to get up. You think I like squaring off against all these powerful folks all the time? But I wasn't going to do it. But a lady got up and she began talking about stuff that was important, about parking issues, right? And during her 3 minutes, I said, you know what, Bernie, you got to go do this. So she motivated. I stood up and I went up, and here's what I said. Make these comments. I don't want to make these comments, but I have to. Mr. Mayor, the last time I was here, I asked you a question and you didn't answer it. I'm sorry. About if your company is still receiving $1.5 million a year in startup money for Gulf Coast Jam and for Sand Jam, which you own. Seems like a long time for startup money. It's TDC money. It's tax money. It's bed tax. The mayor, owns Gulf Coast Jam. It's a great event. But I asked you about this, and I left, and you said you'd love to have that conversation, and I welcome you to have that conversation here, or on my show, or anywhere you want. But I will be leaving after you all vote on the second agenda. You can answer it now, but I'm not going to wait till the end of the meeting. But you know I'm watching. I'm always watching. And I'll be happy to hear the conversation, your answer that you're happy to talk about. Please let us know, because we're going to find out one way or another. And I don't want to come back up here at the next meeting and ask. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
That's his response. Anybody else have any comments? All right, I'm not going to belabor the point, but I am going to show you. So Phil Chester, one of the councilmen, sits on the board of the Tourist Development Council, the TDC, and they collect bed taxes from tourists. And that's where the money comes from that's paid Mark Sheldon's company well over, I don't know how much at this point, but well over $12 million. The mayor, the concert promoter, it's good work if you can get it right. So I'm going to play a little bit of the meeting toward the end of the meeting where Phil Chester is talking about this money could be used for other things. It could be used for beach cleanup. It could be used, I think, to fix the roads, but it's not for that. So you're going to hear Phil Chester talk about how he does all he can with the TDC money to help the beach. What he really does is he votes to give it to Mark Sheldon, his former business partner, along with City Attorney Cole Sun-Davis, former business partners. All right, so I'm going to show you how flippant they are about this. Remember, two of his colleagues up there, Paul Casto and Phil Chester, sit on the TDC board. Here you go. They think this is funny. Watch.
Mayor, one other thing about the TDC. Myself, Councilman Casto, and the city manager, I'm sure assistant city manager, we go to the TDC and ask for everything that we can get legally. Let me emphasize, legally, that we can get for our city. I assure you, I'm on it. I'm on it all the time before every meeting. Actually, as soon as this meeting is over, it's budget time for me, for TDC. If there's money that we can receive for our city, for employees, lifeguards, whatever, I can assure you, myself, city manager, and Paul Casto, we're on it. can assure you that.
Perfect Frank Brown Park. Okay, good. Anything,
Perfect Frank Brown Park.
Just drop that.
Hey, well, you know, okay.
So the inside joke there is that's where the Gulf Coast Jam concerts are. That's the inside joke. Get more money for my concerts. That's the inside joke right there. Now, watch what he says here. Watch how flippant.
And I guess $1.5 million for me.
Well, and we need that.
No, it's not.
We need that walkway across.
And look at his face. So I'm going to replay that part, and I'll tell you who he's looking at when he says that, $1.5 million for me, and then he looks and he smiles.
Perfect.
He's looking at the attorney, Cole Son Davis, his former business partner, along with Phil Chester. The three of them were in business together. Okay. Now Phil votes for Sheldon to get, last I heard it was $1.5 million a year. He won't answer, none of them will answer the question, which they think is funny. But hey, guys, hey, investigators, I know you've been looking. I know you see this. How about restoring some public trust around here? Because when they're laughing at the people, they're laughing at you guys, you investigators who have all this information. Good Lord. But watch after he says $1.5 million for me. Watch the face he makes when he looks down into the audience. He's looking at his business partner and city attorney, Cole Son Davis.
Perfect Frank Brown Park. Okay, good. Anything,
Perfect Frank Brown Park.
Just drop that.
You know,
Excuse me.
And I guess $1.5 million for me.
Watch him look at Cole Davis. See that? Look.
Well, and we need that.
No, it's not.
We need that walkway across Back Beach Road.
We
And
do. We're going to get that too.
All right. Enough of that. So, how about that? I say good. Keep it up. Keep it up. All right. So let's take a look at what they did today, which is remarkable. I mean, did any of you grow up? I'm going to sound like an old guy now. I grew up watching all the shows, you know, Starsky and Hutch. Gosh, what was it? Combat, The $6 Million Man. You know, I grew up watching all these shows where, you know, the good guys win and the good guys are protectors. And I have a theory. I'll share with you a theory I have. I have a theory about people, and it would be really interesting to find this out about these guys. That would be such an interesting study. So here's the theory I have. And think about it if you're a guy, and think about it if you know, if you're the mom of a boy who's grown up already into a man. So here's my theory. I have a theory, and I got this from a friend of mine. He told me this one time, and I thought, holy shnikes, this is absolutely true for me. So when a boy between the ages of 8 and 12, whatever the boy thinks about all the time, whoever he looks up to, whoever his heroes are, that is how he'll identify himself for the rest of his life. So again, for me, it was sports heroes, Roger Staubach. But it was protectors. These people during that time of my life really shaped who I became. Think about anybody you know, any man you know. What were they looking up to? Who were their influences between the ages of 8 and 12? And I think that's pretty much what you're going to get now is a grown-up version of that boy, which makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder who these men were influenced by during that time of their life. All right, let me go to the hot stuff, to the ordinance that was passed today, the second reading, and this ordinance. This one is the one that, and I'll read it to you, limit your rights and liberties, but only for no more than 42 days. and it's only for your own good right after this.
When your life is on the line, hire the lawyer who lives in our community, works in our community, and worships in our community. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
All right. Here are my public comments today. And by the way, if you, a couple of you are watching on YouTube, this show's also live on YouTube. And I don't have, you'll see, I don't have as many followers on YouTube, but I sure would be happy. You'd sure make me happy if you went to the Bernie Thompson Show on YouTube and subscribed. It would help me get the word out, because the press is not getting the word out. Wouldn't you agree? The local news stations, they're in on it. They're on the take. So the Bernie Thompson Show on Facebook, that's the channel, and that's where I'm going to show you what I said today.
Hello, I'm Bernie Thompson. I'd like to echo what the gentleman said. By the way, the elections are in 8 months, and if my calculations are correct, 4 of your seats will be open, all except for me.
They didn't like that comment, and I'll tell you why. Because in April, in 8 months, Mike Jarman has to run again. Paul Casto, well, I'll get to him last. All right, I'll go ahead and tell you this today. Phil Chester terms out. Mary Coburn has another 2 years before she has to run again. And the mayor has to run again. So there are 5 seats. And I just said 4 of your seats will be open for a race. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And you'll see me say, I know about it. Here's my prediction. All right. I could be wrong. But I'm not averse to telling you what I think is going to happen. The election is in April. I believe that Paul Casto, the vice mayor, even though he has 2 more years before he has to run again, they're 4-year terms. I believe Paul Casto is going to resign. And I believe Paul Casto is going to run for mayor. And I believe Mark Sheldon's going to run for mayor. Kind of. After the cutoff point, when nobody else can sign up to run for mayor, after that point, Mark Sheldon will drop out of the race. And they think that will grease the skids for Paul Casto to become the mayor. That's the plan, I think. Based on information and belief. I believe Mark Sheldon has ants in his pants. He doesn't want to do this for another 4 years. And since they've got a lot on him, they can count on him. They being the St. Joe Company and the people who own the St. Joe Company, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. I believe Mark Sheldon is being groomed to be the next congressman to replace Neil Dunn, Dr. Dunn, who was tired and wants to stop. So that is what I anticipate. I could be wrong, but that's what I hint at. And they all look around like, what's he talking about? What's he talking about? And you'll hear what I say, because we've got a great city councilwoman up there in Mary Coburn. I say, if there are 4 seats, and if 2 of those seats go our way, and I look over at the attorney, Cole Son Davis, and I say, you'll be gone. And that's what happens here real fast. All right. And they're in on it. I'm in on it, but most people are not in on it. But now you are. All right. So watch how this goes here. It's going to go kind of fast here. Watch this.
In 8 months, and if my calculations are correct, 4 of your seats will be open, all except for Mary. If 2 people are elected, I know the plan, Mr. Mayor. You'll be gone soon, because this is tyrannical. And just because you voted to do this a couple of years ago doesn't justify it now. You know, if you look throughout history, it's always your own people who sell you out.
Isn't it?
And this gives one person the authority for curfews and for all kinds of stuff. I'm going to go over a few of them. in the interest of public health, safety, and welfare. I often ask people, what is the paramount political value? Is it liberty? Is it safety? Is it security? For none of you, except for Mary, it's certainly not liberty. And your arrogant pomposity, Mr. Mayor, I hope it comes back and get you out of here. And for the future places that you've got your eye on. But when one man declares an emergency, these things will be crimes. Not following the curfew, drinking alcohol at a neighbor's house.
Okay, listen close to this. If after they pass today's emergency powers ordinance, if the city manager declares a state of emergency, they can do what I'm telling you. They've granted themselves these anti-constitutional powers. They can do these things in part of the city or all of the city. They can do some of these things or none of these things. They can target some people, but not other people. It's wrong in so many ways. It's anti-American in so many ways. It's criminal in so many ways. And so these are some of the things that I'll show you in a moment. I'll show you the actual ordinance that they're granting themselves the authority to do. If the city manager declares a state of emergency, in the ordinance, if they choose to enact this part of it, it will be a crime for you to be at your neighbor's house and have a beer. Listen.
Drinking alcohol at a neighbor's house. Worshiping in church would be a crime. The right to peaceably assemble in private or public would be a crime. Renting, operating low-speed vehicles, golf carts. You know, it's these times often that we need them most, as Colleen pointed out. And it authorizes you to turn off utilities at people's homes and businesses. It also authorizes you to use city premises to detain people and to impound property without due process. It authorizes you to enter people's homes for 42 days if you all vote on it, because you give yourself the power, but you did it 2 years ago. That doesn't justify it today. And the penalties for the people are fines, jail, and shutting down businesses. Those of you who vote for this today classify yourselves as petty tyrants, as oath breakers to the Constitution, that you go through the whole ceremony without any sincerity at all. And I hope that your names go down and you're remembered for the crime you commit today, because it is a crime. You know, James Madison said, crisis is the rallying cry of the tyrant. You say we can trust Drew. I like Drew as well, but no, we can't. Thomas Jefferson said, in matters of power, then, let no more be heard of confidence in man, but bind him from mischief by the Constitution. You laugh and you smile, but that matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments on this item?
You see that? Do you see how flippant, the arrogant pomposity? Good. So they used to win elections without even trying over the years. Remember, I've been since 2015 going to all the meetings and covering local stuff. And they used to win in landslides. And then a few years ago, about 4 years ago, they got razor thin. People started hearing about it. Word got around, right? I'm not able to tell as many people as I want. I don't have a big enough platform. But the word starts to get around. And now look what happened. Look what happened just 3 months ago in Panama City. The incumbent mayor lost. Doc Rowan won. Look what happened in Mexico Beach. Al Cathy lost. The incumbent mayor, longtime mayor. And Michelle Miller won. And so when you have a mayor who is pushing to discharge stormwater in the Gulf, you're going to run on that platform? Like I said, I don't think he's going to run. But the guy who I expect to resign and run for mayor, Paul Casto, in April, in 8 months, he is pushing to discharge stormwater near the end of the city pier. All right, you're going to run on that platform? Keep it up. I want them to continue to act the way they're acting because they think they're untouchable. And that's when people lose. So, oftentimes over the years, I would get frustrated and feel very puny after these meetings. But not today. Not right now. Keep it up. All right, I'm going to show you the ordinance. Are you ready for your eyes to pop out of your head? I'm going to show you the ordinance that gives them the power to limit your liberties and freedoms. It's what it says. Okay, but only up to 42 days and only for your own good right after this.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirrepair.com.
Okay, here's the actual ordinance that they passed today. Can you see that? Here, I'll make it bigger for you. All right. It is, see the name up there, Cole Davis. That's the city attorney. And it is ordinance number 1625, makes various changes to Chapter 29 of Code of Ordinances related to emergency management. On April 14th, 2022, the City Council passed Ordinance 1586, which amended Chapter 29. Blah, blah, blah. Let's get to what it does. It adds a definition for emergencies. So they're going to redefine emergencies. In general, it gives the city manager the power to declare a state of emergency for natural, technological, or other man-made disasters that have occurred or are imminent. In other words, they think they might happen. They can declare an emergency for something they think might happen. And not just hurricanes. This doesn't, a lot of this doesn't apply for weather disasters, emergencies. It's for other stuff. This is what they've added here. It provides a 7 days duration for a general state of emergency or emergency order that limits the total duration of non-weather related emergencies that limit the rights or liberties of individuals and businesses. Cole Davis, the attorney, left out and businesses for 42 days. Let's take a look. I'll show you. Whereas, wherefore, and all the other Bolshevik. Emergency. Okay, so it redefines emergency. Means any occurrence or threat thereof. Isn't that handy? And I'm not talking about an impending hurricane. I'm talking about you think something might happen. Maybe there'll be civil unrest. Maybe. So before there's an emergency, that's an emergency now. Whether natural, technological, or man-made, in war or in peace, which results or may result in substantial injury or harm to the population or substantial damage to or loss of property. All right. Then it goes on. One guy can declare a state of emergency. And here's what this would allow, what the city has granted itself the power to do. These are the rights or liberties that the city grants itself, that the state of Florida also has, by the way. But it doesn't mean the council should adopt it. The establishment of curfews in all or part of the city. See, the very deceitful, the most deceitful guy up there, actually, is Mike Jarman, Councilman Jarman, because 2 or 3 weeks ago he said it's only part of the city. No, it's all or part of the city, you liar. the order may exempt from some or all of the curfew restrictions classes of people whose exemption is necessary for the preservation of the health, safety, and welfare. Governments and tyrants always pretend that they care about health, safety, and welfare at the expense of liberty. It's what they do. The proclamation shall state the exempted classes of people. Do you hear me? I'm going to tell you something. Where are my Democrat friends that cry racism, that say, oh my Lord, there's a statue, that talk about raising black voices, that worry so much about racist syrup or milk or math? Where are my Democrat friends when there wasn't a single person there when they talk about classes of people? And you tell me all the time about the racist structure of America, and you can't be bothered to go at least let your voice be heard. Talk about raising voices. I get fired up about this because I remember in 2017 or 2018, when I deposed Hector Solis, the council member who ran for office saying he was a retired federal law enforcement officer when he was an electrician in a prison. How do I know? Because under oath, I asked him in a deposition and he had to say so. He sued me for defamation and I got to depose him under oath. And in the deposition, I asked him if he ever wrote "go home" N-words on a black family's home in Texas. And he wouldn't answer the question. In a court of law, if you don't deny it, it's admitted. His lawyer freaked out. His lawyer quit 3 weeks later. WMBB knew about this. It's on YouTube. And I couldn't get a single person to go with me and say this man's not fit for office. But I saw a whole bunch of people changing their profile pictures to a black box and screaming about racist statues. So I don't want to hear any more bullshit about how much you care about the rights of classes of people when you won't join me to defend the people who deserve to be defended. We should be protectors. We should be defenders. Am I right or wrong? One of the hardest parts of doing what I do is having to hear the facile and the stupid people posting on Facebook. But Bernie, I posted on Facebook, lift black voices, and I did it in capital letters. And you've got black friends too, right? There should have been 100 people when under oath, councilman wouldn't deny writing "go home" N-words on a black family's home. WMBB hid it from you. WJHG hid it from you. The only time they ever reported it is because they thought that Hector Solis was going to defeat me in a defamation case. Are you crazy? You know why they can't? Because I'm telling you the truth. That's why. And because I'm Bernie the attorney. That's another reason why. That's one of the hardest parts doing what I do. Is watching people signal their virtue, pat themselves on the back, talk about how much they love their minorities. You love yourself. You love making yourself feel good. You're not protecting anybody. But I voted for Joe Biden. Oh, okay. All right. Hey, I'm gonna read the rest of the things that they can do to different classes of people that they voted for today. They voted they passed an ordinance today to limit the rights and liberties of people and businesses, and they can exempt classes of people. All right. If you would like to support my efforts, here's another way. There's another way you can do it, and a fun way. You can go to Bernie. It's actually wrong. It's berniestore.etsy.com. berniestore.etsy.com. And if you like any of the stuff there, that's one way to help. Another way, if you'd like to support my independent efforts, which is the only way I can do this, is by becoming a patron. And here's how you can do that. At patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's like leaving a tip. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. Keeping the Liberty Lounge up and running and doing all this is not easy. And crowdfunding is one way to support my efforts. And those of you who do, I am very, very grateful. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's anonymous. It's easy, and you can quit at any time. All right, let's get back to the things that they can do to you and classes of people. Curfews, right? Here's another thing they can do. They can prohibit the sale, distribution, or service of any alcoholic or intoxicating beverage with or without payment or a consideration therefor. The prohibition of, there was another one here too. Sale, distribution, service. Oh, here it is. This is why I say you can't have a beer at your friend's house if they declare an emergency and they decide to do this to certain classes of people. The prohibition of the possession or consumption of alcoholic or intoxicating beverages other than in one's own premises. The closing of any area of public or private assemblage. Do you know that the First Amendment to the Constitution guarantees you the right to peacefully assemble? Guarantees it. Voting to close an area of private assemblage, voting to close a church. That's what these people did today. The order shall allow the owner of real property access and may grant additional exemptions for those the city manager, one person, finds necessary for the preservation of health, safety, or welfare. The prohibition or rental of golf carts, basically. Do you know during Hurricane Michael, for example, golf carts were an important way to get around? That's how people brought people water and goods and food. Do you remember all that? The termination of utility services. Why do they want the power to turn off your power? Why do they want the authority to turn off your power or your internet? Why do they want that? Because, Bernie, some people might have gas stoves. Oh, stop it. All right. The suspension, revocation, modification, denial of a special event permit. Now, this is a big one. Look at number 9. Look at number 9. The use of city property for the lawful detention of persons. Detention of persons? Or impounding people's property? Wow. That's a violation of due process. Am I right or wrong? Mike Jarman said, no, Bernie, for 42 days, it's exigent circumstance. That's what Mike Jarman said today. Look at number 10, to enter your home. The authorization of city personnel to enter upon private property and provide emergency nuisance abatement. Any guesses who the nuisance is? You. Or certain classes of people. This is what they did today. And this is what I went and tried to stop. And a few others did as well. But of course, we got run over. We were about as effective. Actually, I can't say that. I was going to say we were about as effective as the Chinese guy standing in front of the tank at Tiananmen Square, even though he didn't stop the line of tanks. We remember. Right? Just because he couldn't stop it didn't absolve him from doing all he could. That man mattered. That man gave a damn. A lot of people can't be bothered because you can lose friendships, you know. You could lose deals. You might not even get a job around here if they get too mad at you. Meanwhile, this rolls along. All right, so that's about all I got. I do want to say also thank you to, of course, the Unknown Patriot for your support. Without your support and without crowdfunding and without a few sponsors, I couldn't do this. I sure would. People say, Bernie, what about over here in Walton County? What about over here? I'd love to. I'd love to grow the operation. And there are ways that you can help me do that. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe to the free newsletter if you want to get all of the shows in the every Friday night email, bernie.substack.com. It is free. It is easy. All you got to do is put your email in there. bernie.substack.com. Takes 20 seconds. There's also a way for you to support my efforts if you'd like to do that. All right. I've got a big one for you soon, too. Tomorrow, I think I've got a big one for you.